shall we begin?
All right.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Hail to the king, baby.
What's in the box?
I'm vengeance.
This is going to be quite a ride.
Hello everybody, welcome to part 2 of the 2003 year-end review. If you did listen to part 1, I discussed my undetermined, my disappointments, least liked movies, and my surprises of the year. Here I'll talk about what's left, which is of course the honorable mentions and favorites. Before we go through the list, I'll briefly talk about the movies that just missed the list here. I also want to mention, again, like I mentioned in the last podcast rather, all these movies are in alphabetical order, because I don't want to go through the ranking game again. So I just want to mention that before we get to anything. So here are the movies that just missed. And also in the last video, I mentioned of all the movies that I completely missed out on watching this year. So if you're wondering, why isn't this movie on your list? That seems like a movie that should be on your list. Go listen to that episode and, yell at me over there and yell at me here for a movie that didn't make it on here because I just didn't get to watching it. But this list that I'm about to read out, it's a very short list. These are the movies that I watched this year that just missed the list of the honorable mentions and my favorites. So Sisu, which came out earlier in the year, The Blackening, the Arnold documentary. I was a little hesitant on putting that on here because it's 3 parts. But it is technically still a documentary, so I still want to add on there. No One Will Save You, which came out on Hulu. The Killer. I know. And then Killers of the Flower Moon. Look.
Move this man!
Stop yelling. Look, I know. All right. But also, I just wanted to mention, it is 3 hours. It is a 3-hour movie, and it's really hard for me to like a 3-hour, to really truly like a 3-hour movie. That's not saying I did not like Killers of the Flower Moon. It just missed the list. Of course I liked it, but I'm just, I just want to put it out there. All right. Like I mentioned, alphabetical order. And this is something that I probably should have mentioned in the last podcast, but I didn't. My lists, if you've been listening to my podcast for a while or just been, whatever, just didn't know, my lists always tend to lean more toward the genre heavy side. I do have some critically acclaimed movies on my list. I watch critically acclaimed. I'm not, just someone who watches genre movies. I do watch the critically acclaimed movies. Just, this end of the year of 2023 just, wasn't my year. I didn't watch a lot of stuff. Doesn't mean I won't watch the stuff that I missed. I will watch that stuff that I missed. Obviously, the Oscars are coming up, and I want to, be well informed. But my list always does lean on the genre side of things. Just who I am. And this is my favorites. This isn't the best movies of the year, because I also did that, where I did the best movies of the year. And I didn't want to do that anymore because I was like, you know what? I don't want to look at movies so critically all the time. I would just want to look, and enjoy movies. So a lot of my stuff tends to be on the genre side. But that, I think that's what makes my lists, if I want to speak about myself like this, interesting, intriguing, because my lists always tend to be more balanced, I guess, because I do have a lot of genre stuff. I also have a lot of critically acclaimed stuff. Not so much this year, just because this year has really, really sucked. But for me personally, not movie-wise, just for me personally, I didn't get to watch a lot of stuff that I wanted to watch this year, or in 2023. So, it's just, hopefully 2024 will be better. I won't have to mention this at the end of 2024 when we talk about my end of the year list. So, all right, let's get to the honorable mentions, because I'm just rambling now. So the first honorable mention on the list, like I mentioned, again, all alphabetical order, Air. Never did I think I enjoy a movie about the making of a shoe, and not just any shoe, right? Of course, it's the Jordans, the Air Jordans. And what Nike and everyone there did to make sure they could secure Jordan to get the shoe. From the cast to the amazing monologue by Matt Damon near the end during the pitch meeting, Air worked on so many levels, and it was a deal that worked for Amazon, for Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, because they had that deal about the movie, all that behind the scenes stuff. So that was a deal that worked out for them, and we got a good movie out of it. So that was pretty cool. Barbie, that's the second movie on my honorable mentions list. Listen, I liked Barbie. I did. Everyone in it was great. Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, America Ferrera, all of them. The message is powerful and meaningful, and I know it hit, more people than they thought it would, because people fell in love in movie about Barbie and Ken. Especially considering how long this movie has been in development, I don't think anyone expected to like/love this movie as much as they did. Plus, I guarantee no one expected that this movie would have been written by Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig, let alone be directed by Greta Gerwig. And I think this movie would have been just as effective and just as successful if it came out any other time and not the same weekend as Oppenheimer, giving us Barbenheimer. I genuinely think that this movie would have been as successful if it didn't have, if it wasn't not piggybacking. If it didn't come out, that was the wrong word. If it didn't come out the same weekend as Oppenheimer, if they weren't dueling at the box office, I think this movie still would have been as successful. I really, truly do. This movie is very good. The only reason it's on an honorable mention list, and not because I'm a hater, it's just because I liked it. I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. And that's the only reason why it's on my honorable mentions list. It would have been a crime to not have it on any sort of list, but it's there for me. Next on the honorable mentions list, Elemental. I feel like Elemental got lost in the fray this year. I know everyone's like Pixar. It's like, they're losing their way. They're not as good as they used to be. Yeah, I know people watched it because, it did make some money. And the people that watched it were pretty vocal about it. I need you to know, everyone who watched it, you need to be a little bit more vocal because this movie is very good. This movie is not what I expected. I didn't really know what to expect sometimes. And, it is a Pixar movie, so they like to throw you for a loop sometimes. Like, oh, you're expecting this, but that's not what you're getting. But this movie was very sweet and pure, and it was good. It's not just a coming of age story. It's an immigrant story, which was the thing that I was not expecting. It's a love story, and it's a star-crossed lover story at that. All of that balled together into an animated movie, and using the elements that we all know to tell such a great and effective story is a very good move on Pixar's front. So I really liked Elemental. I think I would have put it in my surprises of the year, but I think because it was Pixar, I was like, of course it's going to be good. It's Pixar. That's probably the only reason why it didn't go over there, and that's why it's over here. The next honorable mention, Evil Dead Rise. That opening, man, I think everyone knows that opening is very, very good. The title card sequence in it just goes so hard. And, that was everywhere when it came out online because it was so effective. But Evil Dead Rise took all things that made Evil Dead and brought them to a high rise. Now, granted, we mostly stayed in the apartment building, but the movie made it make sense why. And of course, it wouldn't be Evil Dead without some demonic isolation playing in there. The movie's effects worked so heavily, and just when you think you couldn't get any more crazier, the final act creature that comes out, it's terrifying, one, and it's just like, okay, that's where you guys went. And of course, the cheese grater sequence, I haven't looked at my cheese grater the same way. And I'm sure everyone else hasn't. And, but the cast was also very great. We got a great villain out of it as well with the mom. That line, "Mommy's with the maggots now." I think that was very good. That's very effective. I think it's a very effective Evil Dead movie. I didn't, like it as much as the reboot that came out a few years ago, but it's still a very good, effective Evil Dead movie for me. Anyway, next one, Knock at the Cabin, which I know, probably not on a lot of people's lists, but M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin returned to a form as someone who can handle tension and hold on to it to make you, uneasy while watching. The main issue I have still to this day with Knock at the Cabin is I talked about it on the horror pod, and I'll talk about it again here, was it took away the choice that Shyamalan presents to us and works so hard to make us believe was real. Everything before that was great and worked, but it was just that decision that he makes at the end to tilt his hand in telling you, okay, this was the choice. This is, the reasoning. This was, why it's happening. It's like, I wanted the mystery. I really wanted it to be ambiguous, and he kind of tips his hand a little bit, and I didn't like that. That's the only thing that I was, not like about Knock at the Cabin. Next movie, Talk to Me. A24, horror is always going to be hit and miss with fans. The elevated horror aspect isn't for everyone, and honestly, even for me, it's also hit and miss. And Talk to Me, thankfully, is a hit, but it really works for it, and hopes that you are in for the ride, especially after that opening, because you want to talk about horror openings. Talk to Me also has a very good opening for a horror movie this year. And while I found Talk to Me more in the creepy category than a straightforward horror movie, even though there is a lot of horror imagery and aspects to this, I think it should keep horror fans very happy and attentive as well, especially when it comes to the ending, because that ending hits you and you're like, damn. Because that ending, when I saw it, and I went in the middle of the week with my brother, and there was probably maybe 2 other people in there with me, or with us rather, and we watched it and we're like, man, that is an ending for a movie, especially for this, for sure. So, all right. Next on the list, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. The Ninja Turtles have tremendous staying power. I mean, look at it. They are just as popular now as they were back in the 80s. And it's so great to see, just generation after generation, fall in love with, the Turtles, and Mutant Mayhem took a different approach than the previous adaptations, where they did, besides, the animation and stuff, they actually got teenagers to voice the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You can feel the brotherly bond all 4 of them had. And I think it helped because Seth Rogen admitted that, Seth Rogen, of all people, he produced it, but, he admitted that they had, that he got them all in the same room to record. And that's something, if you know anything about animated movies, a lot of time the actors aren't in the same room. They kind of do them, separately. And the fact that he did this, especially for them, these young stars, these young actors, to be in the same room together, just, leave the microphone on and, have them go at it. I thought that was pretty cool. Plus, this movie's fun. It is really, really fun. The action is really good. The No Diggity montage is so much fun to watch. It's been going around Twitter a little bit, and I just sat there and rewatched it a bunch of times because it's just so good. It is arguably one of, it is arguably very good. It is arguably one of the best animated movies of the year, and one of the, best action movies of the year as well. I would arguably say that. The next honorable mention on the list, we only have 2 more here. Iron Claw, or The Iron Claw, I should say. And I have been looking forward to this one for a while. Not only because I'm a wrestling fan, not only because I know the story of the Von Erichs, or I knew the story of the Von Erichs beforehand, but because I wanted to see how people who didn't know the story and didn't ruin it for themselves by looking up the story online, how they were going to react and how they were going to feel watching this. The Von Erichs story is such a tragic one, but also knowing that Carrie, who was played by Zac Efron in this movie, survived, to say the least, the family curse, if that's what they want to call it, and is striving to this day, is not as tragic as you think. And Efron's performance on top of everyone's performance, everyone in this movie is just phenomenal. They are all great, but Efron here is really, really good. And that final scene when he does, when he's talking to his kids, and it's such a good scene. It really, and it could have gone wrong. It could have played out wrong. It could have played a different way, but it didn't. And it didn't because of what Efron was doing throughout the whole movie. And I think that's really, it could have been a little cringy. But after everything that we see Carrie go through, it works on so many levels, and it's so heartbreaking, but also somewhat beautiful, because if you know the story of Carrie Von Erich and what he's gone through, from what we see in the movie, and then afterwards, it's so good. Another scene that could have also very gone wrong, but it works so well because of everything that has happened in the movie already. And the more I think about it, and the more I hear people talk about it, and analyze it, it's The Better Place. I'll just say it like that in case this is one of those things where I'm not going to spoil for you. I'll just call it The Better Place scene. And I think anybody who's seen the movie knows what I'm talking about. That scene is so good. And I think, anybody who knows the story of the Von Erichs like I do and, is familiar with it, they see that scene. It's like, I hope that is what happened. I hope that's just, it's so beautiful. I admit holding back tears in that scene because that scene is just so good. So yeah, Iron Claw, could not, recommend it anymore. The only reason it's honorable mention is because it is depressing. It is not a happy-go-lucky movie. It is a depressing movie at the end. It is a movie that I watch, and I'm sure I'll watch it sometime again, but I want to put some distance between me and the Iron Claw for a while. And if you're interested more about the Von Erichs, there is a great series called The Dark Side of the Ring. They do a bunch of stories about a bunch of different wrestlers. They do have a Von Erich episode if you want to watch that, which is also very good. You'll find out that there is another brother of the Von Erichs that they did not mention in the movie or even, do anything about that. So if you want to, put yourself through more Von Erich tragedy, go watch that episode. It's also a very good episode. And Carrie's also in it. So you'll get to, see him and hear his own words and stuff like that. So the last honorable mention is When Evil Lurks. Personally, I think When Evil Lurks is one of, if not the best horror movie of the year. Now, I said best and not favorite because When Evil Lurks is also one of the most fucked up movies I've seen this year. It's not something I'm going to throw on every October because it's just so messed up. And it also leaves you in a state after watching the movie. It's like, God damn, like why? Why? But this movie hits you every chance you get. It establishes the world you are in very early on in a natural way, not a, big dialogue heavy, clunky way. So when the action hits, it just, keeps moving. It doesn't have to stop to tell you, oh, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. And this movie moves. I never really felt it slow down at any point. And the things they put the characters through is brutal. And it is mean. And I guarantee you, if this movie was an American horror movie, you would have people complaining about it. I was like, why would you allow this to happen in the movie? It puts you in a downer mood. I just want to warn you. And that ending, when it comes, you're just like, man, fuck. And why would you leave it like that? It is not it is a horror movie, but it is a horror movie that will leave you jacked up in every single way possible. It does things that you're like, oh, they're not going to do that, right? And then they do it. And then there's imagery in this movie that is so messed up. And it's like, why? Don't watch the trailer, by the way. If you're going to watch this movie, do not watch the trailer. Because there is some stuff in the trailer that they tease out. And I think you don't see, because I saw the trailer first, and then I saw the movie, and then I went to go back and watch the trailer again. I was like, did they kind of tease that in the movie? And they did. So don't watch the trailer if you're going to watch When Evil Lurks. It's a Spanish movie. It's subtitled, that might put off some people, but it is very, very good. But it's also very depressing and mean. And I just want to throw that out there. Okay. So those are the honorable mentions that we talked about. All those movies. When Evil Lurks. Give a quick roundup. When Evil Lurks, The Iron Claw, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, Talk to Me, Knock at the Cabin, Evil Dead Rise, Elemental, Barbie, and Air. Let's move on to, of course, the big list, or, not necessarily big, it's a very short list, but the end list that my favorite movies of the year of 2023. The first one we're going to talk about, again, all alphabetical, Dungeons and Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves. I was very vocal when the trailer came out, when it first dropped. And I said, this movie has no right to look as good as it did. Because I saw that trailer and was like, am I really excited for a Dungeons and Dragons movie right now? Because I remember the last one, and that last one was not good. That last one was hot garbage. And this looked really good. This looked great. And it was. It was good. It was great. And it was a lot of fun. Honor Amongst Thieves. And this is coming from a guy that has never played D&D. I look like someone who probably plays D&D, and that is not a knock on everyone. I just give off, nerd vibes sometimes. I was don't know where I was going with that. I was able to follow along with everything happening. The movie doesn't make you feel dumb for not understanding things. It doesn't make you feel dumb for not, being, a D&D player. It's not like it's going to stop, dead halfway and be like, oh, you didn't get this? No, you didn't get this? Oh, you're not a real fan then. Like, no, it doesn't do that. Not at all. It's very easy to follow along. It's a great fantasy movie. On top of that, the world, and it looks fantastic. The world is great. The CG is, is also very good. There's probably some spotty stuff here and there, but it's pretty good. The cast in it is great. Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Sophia Lillis, Justice Smith, Reggie Page, who was in the movie for like 15 minutes, but he's also very good in it. Everything about this is fun. Look, Dungeons and Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves is just a fun movie. It's a fun family movie too. And anyone who doesn't think so is just a hater. I'm sorry, but it's true. You're just hating if you don't like this movie, or if you don't even admit that this movie is just a lot of fun. I'm just saying. Just saying. The next movie on the list is Godzilla -1. Toho, they brought back Godzilla to the big screen in the biggest way possible, and man, it is such a way that it come back to. Godzilla -1 is such a powerful movie on every front. The acting is top notch. The drama is compelling, and it is just as good as the scene when Godzilla comes in and just wrecks the city in half. And speaking of the big man himself, Godzilla is scary as shit in this movie. They went back to the old school first movie Godzilla. He isn't, a friend or a fortunate ally for the humans, for the human race against another kaiju. No. Godzilla is here, and he said, either move or I'm going straight through you, and you are not going to live another day. He is just fucking terrifying. And there is a scene in this movie when our heroes are on a boat, and this is in the water, obviously, and he's chasing after them, and all you see is his head just out of the water, and with his scales, just chasing behind him. It's like a shark. It's basically, everyone was comparing it to Jaws, and yeah, it's the fact that we never seen this situation out of, Godzilla in any Godzilla movie is a crime. And we see that here, and it is terrifying. And if I was in that situation, I'm just going to let you guys know, I would just let Godzilla eat me, because screw that. I'm not running after that guy, because no, that's not happening. This movie is it's damn good. Everyone who has seen it is saying it's good. If Godzilla -1 is not on your end of the year list for whatever reason, what are you doing? You're just hating. And if you didn't get a chance to watch it in theaters, I feel for you, because I saw this in theaters. I saw it in IMAX, and it is just so good. Like, I was emotionally invested in a Godzilla movie. And there was my IMAX screening at the theater I went to, which is usually not very, it's not usually packed. There's not usually a lot of people. My Godzilla screening for that movie, or for that time that I went, it was pretty decently. It filled up. It wasn't sold out, but there was a lot of people in there, and we were all having a blast watching it. It felt like it felt like pre-pandemic crowds where, you're watching what it felt like? It felt like watching a midnight movie. And that's saying something for a Godzilla movie, for a subtitled, movie, a foreign movie, where this crowd was really into it. And we all laughed at the moments we were supposed to laugh, and we all enjoyed it. People clapped at the end of the movie, and I'm just like, okay, this is a proper movie to do that, because this movie was very, very good. I'm stumbling over my words because I'm so excited. I want to watch it again. Now I want to watch it again. But yeah, Godzilla -1, definitely one of the best movies. I will say that's one of the best movies of the year, hands down. All right, moving on to the next movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. James Gunn's time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is done, at least, for now, his words. And obviously he's, gone off to, help out with the DC movies. And in terms for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, it was a pretty good way to go off. He closed off the second best trilogy in the MCU, right after Captain America. And he did it with characters, that when they were first announced all the way back, back in the day, people were like, who? Who are the Guardians? I don't know. I didn't know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were. A lot of people didn't know who Guardians of the Galaxy were. If you didn't know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were, you were, very well versed in the comic world. Now the Guardians are household names, and we got to see them on their last adventure together. It was action packed. It was funny. It was devastatingly emotional and fitting end to the series. Do you remember when the trailer first came out? You remember how we all collectively as a unit swore on Twitter and that we would riot on the streets if anything happened to Rocket? Like, how dare you kill Rocket? Like, we were already killing Rocket off. We became emotionally invested with the CGI talking raccoon voiced by Bradley Cooper. And we were all ready to die. We were all ready to hunt down James Gunn if anything happened to him. I remember that. And, having Rocket kind of be the secret lead, the secret hero of the story all along, and seeing his backstory, it was so good. And when he's in that kind of, I don't know, purgatory, I guess, when he's with, everybody else and with Lila. And I'll tell you right now, that scene where he says, "Can I come with you?" That hit me real hard. And I just felt my chest tighten up, like, no. And then he, bounces back and he comes back, and it was great. And then we get, the, No Sleep Till Brooklyn hallway scene, which is also very good. And I saw that pop up on Twitter recently too. And I just watched it in its entirety because it was a lot of fun. But in all seriousness, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is a fitting end to the team as we know it. I know James Gunn has said that he trusts, Kevin Feige with, whatever they want to do with the Guardians characters. And I think the movie itself, probably a very good experience of these characters, and we have fallen in love with on screen. Dog Days is another experience, another thing I want to talk about. Having that song play out, and then it's just seeing where all the characters ended up, and especially seeing the singer, which I can't think of her name now. I think it's Florence and the Machine. That's the band that she was in. Seeing her watch the movie, and there was a video of her watching the end where her song Dog Days plays, and seeing how she, got emotional too. It's like, yeah, she's one of us, because that's how, we became emotional as well. So yeah, it's really good. I liked it. You can call me a Marvel shill all you want, but Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the only Marvel movie on my end of the year list, and that is a very big change from all the other previous years. Moving on, John Wick Chapter 4. Look, I don't care what anyone says. John Wick Chapter 4 is the best, hands down, best action movie of the year. I saw this in theaters twice, and I've seen it twice at home now. And you always think, how are they going to top the action in the next one? There's no way they can top it, right? Wrong, because they did. And let's give everyone special suit armor. Let's give some people swords and have John Wick with nunchucks. Let's include another character with a dog. Let's fight in this weird European nightclub with waterfalls in it. Let's go to Paris and drive around and shoot out around the Arc de Triomphe. Let's go into a building and give everyone explosive shotgun shells while the camera follows on top like an independent video game. And the piece of the resistance, having John Wick fight his way up the never-ending steps, not once, but twice, and then have a duel with old-timey pistols. I mean, how could you not love John Wick Chapter 4? Regardless if you think that this is Reeves's last go as John Wick. His appearance in the spin-off Ballerina, which takes place in between movies, not included. But Chapter 4, at least for now, I think is a fitting end for, if they just, give the John Wick movies a little bit of, leeway. If, the ending, I won't give away just in case anybody's, hadn't seen or just, forgot. But let's give, let's let them rest for a little bit, if they decide to come back or not. But yeah, John Wick Chapter 4, one of my favorite movies of the year. It's just really good. I want to watch John Wick Chapter 4 again, now that I've just talked about it. The next movie on the list, my favorite's Oppenheimer. One of the biggest movies of the year that came out over the summer. And it's still being talked about, especially now with, awards season, ramping up. Why did I say ramping up? Why did I say Rumping Up? You know what? Never mind. I'm going to leave that in. I'm not editing that out. But Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer is being talked about. Cillian Murphy finally gets to play the straightforward lead in the movie and share, his lead star duties, and it completely plays off. Murphy's Oppenheimer is a complex, conflicted, and outstanding character, of course, based off the real Robert J. Oppenheimer. But he's also surrounded by a great supporting cast: Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt, Florence Pugh, Matt Damon, Jason Clarke, and so many more. Josh Hartnett, everyone wants a Josh Hartnett renaissance now. This film is drenched with tension and drama. It is a long movie, but it doesn't feel that long because you're so invested in what's going on. Plus, the score helps out a lot too. This score is phenomenal. And I was happy to see it in 7mm IMAX, even though my brother and I had to drive out to Indianapolis to see it in the true IMAX because that's the only place around here that has it. It was well worth the drive there and back, because this is truly also one of the best movies of the year. And I can imagine this just cleaning up award season all over. Maybe even the Oscars. Well, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that. But this might finally give Nolan, his Oscar recognition that he also truly deserves as well. All right, my next favorite movie of the year, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. The Mission Impossible movies have consistently been great since they first started. Yes, even Part 2. Y'all hating if you don't like Part 2. Is it the weaker of the Mission Impossible movies? Yes. Is it the worst? That's up for debate, but it's still not that bad. You guys just hate. But it feels like the recent movies have kind of found their stride a little bit. Christopher McQuarrie, Tom Cruise, that's a completely different franchise. Tom Cruise have made this franchise their own, and it will probably be a sad day when these movies aren't made anymore. Although, given Cruise's knack for never stopping, that probably won't be for a while. Even though Dead Reckoning kind of feels like they're winding down, it feels like this could be the end of the franchise a little bit. And if it is, then, I don't blame them. But also, if they keep going, I wouldn't mind that either. That said, the action continues to step up. The Rome escape sequence, the train sequence at the end is also just so good and so impressive that they're able to pull a lot of this stuff off. And there's some nice callbacks from the early movies, which is cool to see on the big screen again. I don't know if I'd call Dead Reckoning Part 1 one of my favorite Mission Impossible movies. It's definitely up there. It's also it's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. And I know there was the whole thing that Cruise, was upset on set because, they were filming this during COVID, and then the whole IMAX thing because he wanted to stay in IMAX a little bit longer. But I think it was Oppenheimer, right? I think it was Oppenheimer and Barbie that were coming out right afterwards, like a week later, that he, wanted more screen time, but they weren't going to give it to him because Oppenheimer was coming. So there is that. But still, I can't wait for Part 2. I can't wait to see what they do with that. All right. The last two movies on the list: Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now, look, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse took us all by surprise. So there was no way that its sequel, Across the Spider-Verse, could surpass it, right? No, because it could. Whether you like the first one better or this one better, it's personal opinion, I think we can all agree that Across the Spider-Verse is an incredible feat on its own. The animation of this movie is just phenomenal. Fucking phenomenal at that. And the fact that they are doing different kinds of animation in every universe we went to, and in turn makes every character a different animation, especially for Hobie, who is consistently changing. It's so good. This is a beautiful movie to look at. And I don't know what more I can say about this movie that hasn't already been said, but this is a great, great movie. And the only fault that I think I would give this movie is that it leaves you wanting more. And it leaves you on an ending where it's like, oh, here's Part 2. And unlike another movie that came out this year that also kind of has this continuous ending that I didn't earn, Fast X, I didn't want to call you out, but you know what? I'm calling you out. Across the Spider-Verse, just very, very good. It was like a whole setup for Part 2, and Part 2, I feel like that wait for Part 2 is just going to be insufferable, but we're just going to have to wait. And I guarantee you Part 2 is just going to be even better. And I hope it's even better, because you can't have a poor execution of the story after you're giving us two great movies. You can't. You just can't. And I don't think they'll fail us. And the last movie, just how it turned out alphabetically, the Super Mario Brothers movie. I was admittedly hesitant about Nintendo going with Illumination to bring Mario back to the big screen, even, in animated form. And unlike a lot of people, I didn't mind the voice cast when it first came out. Although, yes, I was shocked with like a good chunk of people. But after that, after all was said and done, the Super Mario Brothers movie came out, and it was a lot of fun. The world is as colorful as it is in the games. It was funny. It paid homage not just to the first game, but its history. Yes, at times it felt like maybe they were cramming a little bit too much in there, but the end game of the movie was to give the audience a good time, and that is what it did. And of course, it also gave us Peaches by Jack Black. I know probably parents have heard that song 1,000 times by now, maybe 2,000 times. I know one of the big things coming out of the movie was, no, not that Chris Pratt was not Italian and he was voicing Mario, was that people said that this movie was only targeted at kids. To which I said at the time, yeah, no shit. It's a Super Mario Brothers movie. It's an animated movie. 1, based on a video game character. 2, of movies of games that, were targeted, or especially now are targeted more toward kids. What more do you want? Like, it's a Mario Brothers movie. Like, what did you want? You want a live action one? Because you saw how well the first live action movie did. So yeah, I don't know what people were expecting from that, but I had fun. Maybe just because I like to have fun at my movies, and I had fun with Super Mario Brothers. All right, so that is my favorite movies of the year. Again, a little quick roundup. The Super Mario Brothers movie, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, John Wick Chapter 4, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Godzilla -1, and Dungeons & Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves. Those are my favorite movies of the year. Now, what were yours? That's my list. My lists are done. Of course, all of this, my opinion, I've said multiple times in this podcast, I tend to enjoy and like more movies than other people. I'm not here to shit on other movies unless they're absolutely warranted. So yeah, those are my movies for 2023. What were yours? Let me know what you thought in the social media platforms and all that good stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube, in the comments section, if you agree on any of that. But those are the movies for 2023. What about this year, 2024? Let's look at a very, very brief rundown of these movies. I feel like I'm rambling on the current release schedule for 2024, starting with what's left in January. So January, by this point, I think Night Swim would have already came out. Good Grief is also out on Netflix. The 12th of January, there's a few movies coming out on streaming. Lift on Netflix, which is a new Kevin Hart movie. Role Play, which is also a kind of a romantic action movie on Prime Video. Suffer Alliance on Hulu. I don't know why I said YouTube. On Hulu, Disney is re-releasing some of their animated movies that came out during the pandemic. So Soul is getting re-released in January on the 12th. The new Mean Girls movie, which is not based off the movie, it's based off the musical, which of course is based off the movie, but this is actually a musical. The Book of Clarence, which is the new movie with Lakeith Stanfield, and the new movie with Jason Statham by David Ayer, which I didn't know was coming out. The Beekeeper, or I knew it was coming out. I didn't know that it was David Ayer until I started seeing the trailers. On the 19th, you have the new movie by Ava DuVernay called Origin, which I think came out in some film festivals and it's got some mixed reactions. But there's a movie I'm looking forward to that weekend is ISS, which is the International Space Station. It's about two crews, an American crew and a Russian crew stuck in the International Space Station when something goes off here on Earth, and they got to figure out what's going on. So there's that. On the 26th, and then the 26th, there's not really anything big coming out. So you got that at the end of January. February, Argyle. Apparently everyone hates the Argyle trailer for some reason. I don't know why. But that's coming out in February. You also have Lisa Frankenstein, which is the first movie. I don't know if it's the first movie, but it's directed by Zelda Williams, the daughter of Robin Williams. It's obviously a Frankenstein, a modern twisted version of Frankenstein, because it's Catherine Newton, who played Cassie Lang in the new Ant-Man movie. She is, or Ant-Man, Ant-Man, and Freaky as well. She brings back the corpse of like this Victorian guy, and she's obviously has to go around killing people to make him better. I don't know. It's also written by Diablo Cody, which of course did Jennifer's Body. So I'm sure that movie will be over with a certain crowd. Turning Red also gets released on the 9th. On the 14th, we have the Bob Marley biopic, Bob Marley, One Love. We also have Man Web coming out. That's all I'll say about that. Look, I want to say nice things about Man Web. I do. I can't find it. The 23rd, we have the Drive Away Dolls, which I think is a new movie by the Coen brothers, or at least one of the Coen brothers is directing that. In March, of course, we have Dune Part 2 coming out on the 1st. March 8th, we have a bunch of movies. We have Imaginary, which is another movie by Blumhouse, and Kung Fu Panda 4. We also have Damsel coming out on Netflix. That is a new movie with Millie Bobby Brown, where she plays of course, obviously damsel in distress. But if I remember correctly, she's like part of this like land where they gotta test themselves, like princesses that gotta test themselves. I think that's what I can't remember what it's called, or if that's what it's about, but something along those lines. There's that. On the 22nd, Luca will get re-released in theaters. We also have Arthur the King, which is a new Mark Wahlberg movie where he plays like a runner. It's based off a true story, like a dog that follows him around. So there's that. And then on the 29th, we have two movies, Mickey 17, which is the new movie by Bong Joon-ho, starring Robert Pattinson. And we have Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. April 5th, we have The First Omen, this prequel to the Omen movies that's coming out. I saw the trailer for the first time, or a trailer came out recently, and looks pretty creepy. Not gonna lie, looks pretty creepy. Then the 12th, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how cheesy Godzilla looks running. That movie looks like it's gonna be so good, and I'm gonna go watch it. And you can't stop me from having a good time. I don't care. That movie cannot be good, but you're not gonna stop me from having a good time with that movie. On the 19th, we have Rebel Moon Part 2 coming out on Netflix. On the 26th, we have Challengers finally coming out. That's the new movie with Zendaya where she plays a tennis player. That's coming out. And then Civil War, the new movie by A24. And it's interesting because it doesn't look like an A24 movie, but it is. It looks like, there's been the rumors that A24 is going to, branch out a little bit on what they do. I think Civil War is that. I think it's going to be, the first big test. It's also directed by Alex Garland, who of course directed Annihilation and Ex Machina, so there's that. Then on May 3rd, we have The Fall Guy, Ryan Gosling. It's based off the TV show from the 70s, 80s. I can't remember when that show came out, but it's based off an old show. Emily Blunt's also in there. Well, that's pretty cool. 17th, we have The Strangers Chapter 1. This is based off a new trilogy of The Strangers movies that are coming out. I believe that, if I remember correctly, this movie is directed by Rennie Harlan, which, if anything, that's going to be really good. We also have If. That is a new movie starring Ryan Reynolds. I think John Krasinski co-wrote it or directed it. He's involved in it somehow behind the camera. And it looks all right. But then, of course, May being Memorial Day weekend looks stacked. If anything, and I will say this right now, and I will have no shame in saying this, I think Memorial Day weekend is the closest thing we will have to Barbenheimer this year. Unless something drastic happens, within the next few months of releasing. But Memorial Day weekend, we have something for everybody. Garfield, the new animated movie. Yes, Chris Pratt is voicing Garfield. Just get over it. We have the new Kingdom and the Planet of the Apes movie. Looks very good. And then we have Furiosa. The prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. George Miller's back. That looks very, very good. That looks very awesome. I saw the trailer again recently, and I saw it in theaters, and it looks so good. So yeah, that is a good Memorial Day weekend right there. I don't think anything's gonna move. That's gonna be a good Memorial Day weekend. So let's move on to June. We have Ballerina. That is the spin-off movie of the John Wick with Ana de Armas playing the lead, playing the quote unquote ballerina in the movie. I don't trust this movie only because it's directed by Len Wiseman, who directed the Underworld movies. He also directed the Total Recall remake, which was not very good. I don't trust Len Wiseman. I'm sorry. But that's my only thing about that. On the 14th, we have Inside Out 2, which, I'm all for it. Bad Boys 4 is listed on here, but I don't think they've even started filming yet. So we'll keep an eye on that. Netflix has a new Ultraman movie coming out called Ultraman Rising, which maybe could be good. Who knows? And then we have the Bike Riders on the 21st. That was supposed to come out at the end of 2023, but with the writer's strike and everything, it got pulled off the schedule, and it has a new home with Focus Features and Bike Riders coming out. And then on the 28th, we have Quiet Place Day 1. This is, of course, the kind of spin-off, but also set in the continuity of A Quiet Place. Obviously, Day 1 being a prequel to everything that happened. And then Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1. This is the movie directed by Kevin Costner. Part 2 is coming out, I believe, in August, and we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, there you got that. July 3rd, we have the new Despicable Me movie, Despicable Me 4, coming out. I think that's still coming out. I don't know if they're going to push that around or anything like that. 19th, we have Twisters, and then on the 26th, we have Deadpool 3, which the only real MCU movie coming out next year, or this year, 2024. So I don't want to hear any complaints about anybody being there's too much MCU movies out in theaters. Can't use that as an excuse this year. August 9th, there is the Borderlands movie, the video game adaptation directed by Eli Roth. That's finally coming out. I remember that movie being announced a long time ago, and there's just been nothing out of this movie. Like, we got a picture, and that was it. And then there was like some stuff going on that maybe Eli Roth didn't direct any of the reshoots because they had to go back and reshoot everything. So there was that. And then, like I mentioned, Horizon, the American Saga Chapter 2 comes out on the 16th. Also, on August 16th, Alien Romulus, the new Alien movie that's directed by Fede Alvarez, who directed the Evil Dead remake and Don't Breathe. He's directing this. Apparently got the blessing from Ridley Scott, because Ridley Scott said he saw some sort of work print version or saw the movie already, or whatever was done, and he really liked it. So there's that. And then on August 30th, we have Kraven the Hunter, the second Sony movie coming out, which... Kraven. I want to say nice things about it. I really do. I like Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's really great. I think he makes probably a decent Kraven, maybe, but I don't trust Sony with their Spider-Man properties. I don't trust what they're doing right now. September 6th, we have Beetlejuice 2, which I'm pretty sure just finished filming a little bit ago. So there's that. The 13th, there's Transformers 1. I believe that is the animated movie that they're doing. And then on the 27th, we have Saw 11. Yes, we have another Saw movie coming out. Will it be good? Who knows? Will it be as good as Fast or as Saw X? Hopefully. We'll see. We'll see about that. October 4th, of course, the sequel to Joker Folie à Deux. I think that's how you pronounce it. Not excited for it. Sorry, I cannot get excited for Joker 2. On the 18th, we have Smile 2. I like the first Smile movie, so hopefully Smile 2 will be good. And then on the 25th, we have Universal's next stab at the Universal Monster movies with Wolfman, which that would be pretty cool. And then for all you sickos out there, Terrifier 3 is also coming out on October 25th. Sorry. November 8th, we have the new Venom movie, Venom 3. I'm pretty sure they started filming that already. And then on the 22nd, we have Gladiator 2. Ridley Scott's coming back to direct that, so there you go. And then on November 27th, we have Wicked Part 1. Yes, they are dividing Wicked into Part 1, Part 2. Part 1 will be coming out on the 27th. December 13th, we have a new Lord of the Rings movie, which is an animated movie called The War of Warren Rim. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that wrong, and I'm sorry. I know a lot of people are mad at me right now, but it's an animated movie coming out on December 13th. And then also on December 13th, a new Karate Kid movie is coming out. I believe they are blending together, putting together the worlds, because the Ralph Macchio Karate Kid is coming, and then the Jackie Chan mentor teacher is also coming in. So they're kind of doing it together. I think they're doing a search for the Karate Kid. I saw a video of them together. They're doing a search. They want to, get some up and coming newcomer. I don't know how well they'll blend. If we can see Cobra Kai on screen, that'd be cool. But we'll have to wait and see on that. On December 20th, we have Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which I also believe just finished filming not too long ago, and then Mufasa the Lion King. I don't know what's going on with that. I know they announced it at D23. I don't remember what it's about. Obviously about Mufasa, but other than that, I don't know. What's going on with that. And then on the 25th of December of 2024, Nosferatu, the new movie by I can't remember his name now, but he directed The Witch and The Lighthouse and The Northman. Robert Eggers. There you go. Robert Eggers. The new movie by Robert Eggers, Nosferatu, and on there. Yeah, that's good. That's nothing screams Christmas time like a vampire movie in Nosferatu himself. But there you go. The new Jordan Peele movie was supposed to come out on the 25th, but they removed that from the release schedule. So there is that. And then of course, that's just what's currently on the release schedule right now. Obviously, things get moved around, things get delayed, things get put in, and the streaming service. That's just some of the. I only got some of the streaming service stuff because they don't release everything. And of course there's all the movies coming out in film festivals like Cannes Film Festival and Toronto and all that other good stuff. So obviously I'll keep a lookout. I always do my movies coming out that weekend a bit on the podcast when we come back. So I'll keep an eye on that and obviously keep you guys well informed because that's what I want to do. That's my job. I have one job. I got two jobs: record the podcast, edit it, put it out, and then tell you guys that the podcast is out. Those are my jobs. And sometimes I fail at one of those jobs. And because I fail at one of those jobs, I fail both jobs. But yeah, I'm going to do better this year. I promise I will do better. Okay, that is it. I'm rambling. I feel it. I feel you guys know that I am rambling. So thank you guys, everybody, for listening. Hopefully to both parts. If not, at least this part. Here's to another great year of movies, to a better year in podcasting and everything in between. 2024 is going to be good. 2024 is going to be a return to form, hopefully, for this podcast. Not hopefully, it will be. No hopes, only guarantees. Actually, no, that sounds messed up. All right, I will do better. This podcast will be better. I will do better. We'll have some fun on the podcast this year. So thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to check out all the links down below in the description/show notes area, socials, the platforms where we're at. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys on the next one. Go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!